Hello and welcome to Twisted Britain, a podcast on true crime in Britain with a sprinkling of the weird and macabre. And your host are me, Bob Dale. And as we are on lockdown, I am not recording in the settle-in as we normally would. However, don't you worry, I still have a beer. Now, first off, I'm going to start off this episode with a bit of an apology. This is not the episode I thought I was going to release this week. I can do nothing more than say, well, I fucked up. I got my scheduling wrong and I don't have the follow-up to the last episode ready yet, and I didn't want to try and rush it out and waste it. So I am going to do something a bit different this week. Rest assured, next week you will get the follow-up to the challenge that Kate sent me last week from Ignorance Was Bliss, which was weird food, and I had a lovely chat with Kate over the weekend there, and we recorded all of it, and she has let me off with it being enough to cover weird food. So that's a bit of a relief. And it will go, obviously, into the next challenge, which I have written, but I just haven't gotten around to finishing off and getting all the bits and pieces together for recording the episode. So this episode is a bit different. It's what I'm going to call Bob's Twisted Tales. It's still Twisted Britain, and since we don't know how long this wonderful lockdown world that we have is going to last, I'm going to try and get one of these out every couple of weeks between normal episodes. Now, like I say, we've bumped back a normal episode now to next week, but that's fine. We'll still get a normal episode out every 2 weeks no matter what happens. And I'll try and get a couple of Bob's Twisted Tales out. One either in between every episode or between every couple of episodes, just so there's something extra coming out. So basically, every episode of Bob's Twisted Tales will just be a weird story from history. It always includes some kind of crime or a sprinkling of the macabre, as normally would. And these are usually things that I've come across during my normal research and not found a way of kind of shoehorning it into an episode before, or in fact is just not been long enough or not enough information for a full episode. Sometimes I may even just stretch the rules to tell you about something that I found cool that I was looking for. So here it is, the first of Bob's Twisted Tales. Please do get in touch after you've listened to this to let me know if it's something that you enjoyed or something that I should just knock on the head. But either way, here is some where my weird search history is taking us this week. This is a story I came across because of a conversation I overheard in the pub. Now, a lot of things I overhear in the pub should never be broadcast, but this is one that's going to not come as any surprise to people that I overheard this sitting at the bar. Now, I don't know if I've let on before, but sports aren't really my thing. I know it's a bit of a shock horror moment right there. But I do like weird things. And this one kind of comes into that. Anyway, story goes, a couple of old boys at the bar sitting talking about the origins of nicknames in sports teams. They were going through a load of them, Celtic being the boys from the Gaelic taking for Bold Boy, West Brom being the baggies from the shorts they used to wear, Sunderland being called the Black Cats after the battery gun that used to sit where the stadium is now. One that kind of intrigued me there, quite like that. Leicester City obviously being the Foxes, and that was after hunting traditions in the area, and so on and so on and so on. Now, like I said, it's not something that particularly interests me, but my ears pricked up as they mentioned Hartleypool. Nothing to do with Hartleypool being anywhere I've been or want to go. I'm sure it's a lovely place, but it's just never come up. But what did prick my ears up was the fact that they were being called the monkey hangers. And I thought that not only is that just a funny collection of words, but apparently it's because they actually hung a monkey. I do believe my response to this was something along the lines of, what the fuck are you talking about? They hung a what? A monkey. Of course they did. Now, being in the settle-in and being around some of the locals, I was like, meh, they're drunk. But I was assured that the old guys had not lost their minds. And I just decided that I would go off and have a wee read about it. As is my weird mindset. I know I would probably never use it for an episode, but, well, here we are. If you are, however, from Hartleypool area, I'm going to apologise in advance if I get any of this wrong, and please do get in touch if I have got any of this wrong. So here is the story behind the origins of the Hartleypool monkey hangers. So it's the early 1800s and England are at war with the French in the Napoleonic Wars. Now, the Napoleonic Wars, for a bit of background, are a major conflict that basically pitted the French and the French Empire against the rest of Europe. It lasted around 12 years, from 1803 to 1815. In fact, Britain joined the fracas in May 1803 due to the kind of anger building up of the French trying to, realign the whole of Western Europe. What followed after the British joining was a long and extensive naval war in and around the British coastline. Now, obviously, the British, having a bit of a naval background, had a mainstay there that this has always been and always will be an island nation, and we can pretty much, in the 1800s, we could pretty much say, we've got the biggest navy, fuck off. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop our big motherfucking boats that we have used to try and dominate the entire globe in the English Channel and tell the French to le fuck off. Now, it's against that backdrop that we take a wee trip to the northeast of England, to the lovely town of Hartleypool. Well, I say lovely town of Hartlepool. I've never been there, but I'm sure it's lovely. Wee coastal town. Now, please do remember that this is in the northeast of England, pretty much as far away from France as you can get in England before you get to Scotland, actually. So the story goes that on one stormy night, and I love a story that starts one stormy night. Anyway, a French sailing ship, French battleship, warship, was fighting a losing battle against a storm. From the shore, the local fishermen of Hartlepool were keeping an eye on what was this struggling vessel as it fouled its bottom on the rocks and was left floundering and sinking in the North Sea. The entire crew perished. Well, not the entire crew. As the captain and his crew sank to their watery graves, the sole survivor of the wreckage, grasping to some piece of broken ship, was washed ashore. The sole survivor was the ship's mascot, a monkey dressed in full French military officer's uniform, which, as I know, is cruel these days, but it does, to me, sound still a bit hilarious. And for one, I would probably take orders from him. Oh, Captain, my Captain. But now, before I go on, I'd like to take this opportunity to say I am not and will not cast aspirations on anyone. And I would like to say that this is how I read all the research and how I found it. And it was a while ago, so I'm sure the people of Hartlepool are, lovely now. But in the early 1800s, they weren't so worldly wise, shall we say. As the ship's mascot was washed up onto the beach, probably nearly dead, it was greeted by a lovely group of locals, chanting and shouting, and as I said, in a far northeast part of England, and probably had never met a Frenchman. They wouldn't have had a proper grasp on en français. In fact, they'd probably never seen a monkey before, never mind one dressed as a French officer. Now, we have to remember that at this point, I don't particularly have a date for when this happened, but let's assume that the British have been at war with the French for quite a wee while now. There's obviously tales awash around the UK of how these horrible, dirty French people were trying to invade our nations. And, seeing a small, hairy, man-like being in a uniform, what else would you think other than this is clearly a Frenchman? Please do feel free to insert whatever hairy French jokes you like there, but of course I shall refrain. So on the beach there, and as he has washed up, the interrogation starts. They start quizzing this Frenchman on the activities of the ship and if in fact he is a spy. Unsurprisingly, the questions went unanswered. Well, probably unanswered in a way that they would understand it. I would imagine it was making some kind of noise, maybe some chattering and all sorts, but the prosecution as such, not having a best grasp of the French language, would have just thought, well, it's just French nonsense they're shouting at us. So from here, they move swiftly from interrogation to full trial. This spy is clearly not deciding to answer any questions. And that's right, they actually tried a monkey on the beach. And strangely enough, the monkey was unable to put up a defense in any way, and they find him or it or her or whatever guilty of being a French spy. The monkey is dragged to the town square and hanged. They actually hang a fucking monkey. I hope at least it was given the dignity of being allowed to wear its uniform. It was a naval officer after all. Now, is this just a bit of an urban legend, or did they really hang a monkey? I suppose we'll never really know. I will caveat all this that there could be a really horrible side to this tale, and I know I've been making a bit light of it, mainly because I just find it funny. The horrible side is that on ships of these days, there would have been powder monkeys. And these weren't monkeys of the simian kind at all. These were young boys who were on the ship to carry the gunpowder from the stores to the cannons that were in use. These powder monkeys tend to be between the age of 12 and 14, and they were usually quite fast and small, so they could move around the lower decks, no problem, nipping in and out of all the beams from the store to the cannons without any problems. I'm going to stick in my head with the monkey. Now, not because I find that less sad that they hung a monkey than a small boy. Well, in fact, I do find it less sad, but the pictures of the hanging the monkey, the cartoons that have been done are excellent. So I'm sticking with that in my head. Either way, this is either an incredible story of a small population hanging a monkey or a really sad one of them hanging a young boy. Either way, not a great selling point for the community. Well, or is it? Well, I tell you what, the people of Hartleypool have really stepped up, and they have owned this tag. They have become the monkey hangers. It has been used for years as a term to slag off the locals, with them often being on the end of the receiving end of the chant, "Who hung the monkey?" which, as I have been told before, is not grammatically correct. It should be "Who hanged the monkeys?" But we'll not get into that. In fact, it's still used to this day in football stadiums, and Hartlepool United are quite often on the receiving end of "Who hung the monkey?" from the biggest rivals, Darlington. I say all this not being a sports fan in the slightest, so I have pretty much no idea what I'm talking about. However, the Hartlepudlians have really started to love this piece of folklore. And as I say, Hartlepool and United have really gotten on board with it. They have, in fact, now got, and I don't know how long they've had him for. I should have looked that up. Sorry. They've had a mascot called Hangus the Monkey. And the local rugby team, the Hartlepool Rovers, are known as the Monkey Hangers. Now, I thought I would just save the best bit for now. Stuart Drummond. Well, Stuart stood for mayor of Hartlepool in 2002. It was originally a stunt put in place by the local football team, Hartlepool United, who said, let's just chuck somebody out there and make him stand as mayor. And they did that because he campaigned as Hangus the Monkey. He was in the full mascot costume and stood under the slogan, "Free bananas for school children." Now you're thinking, great, lovely, funny bit of promotional bits and pieces. Well, he won. He didn't win just once. He won 3 times. In 2002, he won the mayoral elections. He then won 2 following times and was mayor right up until 2013. He was mayor for 11 years. Sadly, however, he was unable to provide the free bananas for school children. So you think, they've made light of it. It's been a bit of fun, bit of something to do. But however, in June of 2005, there was a large bone washed ashore on Hartlepool Beach. It was found by a local resident, and they thought, hang on a minute, that's a monkey bone, and this maybe that actually something did happen here. Sadly, when it was properly looked at, it was found to be a bone of a red deer which had died about 6,000 years ago. But don't you worry, that bone is now on show in the Hartleypool Museum. So no matter what happened on that beach over 200 years ago, the legend remains, and is probably as strong as ever. And like I say, this is just a story I found while overhearing a conversation in the pub, and thought, well, I know a ragtag group of people that would love to hear this. So that is the story of the Hartleypool crew. That makes them sound like a gang, and I don't mean that. Yeah, fuck it. The Hartleypool crew that hung a monkey on a horrible day in the early 1800s. And I'm going to leave it as a monkey and say that I hope it wasn't a powder monkey, and I really hope he had his wonderful blue French admiral's hat on as they took him to the gallows. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. I know it's a bit different this week, and it wasn't the episode that you may have tuned in to listen to. It is, however, as I said, it's one of Bob's Twisted Tales, and it's something that I'm probably going to do again. These will be slightly shorter episodes because I won't have the phone-in clips and all that kind of stuff, and they will just be things that I've found, either overheard in a bar. Obviously not at the moment because we are all lovely and locked down, but something that I found in the 2 years that we've been doing Twisted Britain now, of stuff that I never thought I'd get to record. So I hope to get an episode out every week. If it's not every week, apologies. I'm doing my best, and for some reason, I don't know about you lot listening here, but it almost feels busier when you don't have work to go to, and you've got stuff going on in the house. We are also trying to move house during a lockdown at the moment, so loads of bits and pieces are going on here. So, but no matter what, I'm not making excuses, and we will get Twisted Britain and back on track as soon as possible. As always, if you'd like to join us online, you can find us on all the social media channels. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you search for Twisted Britain on any of them, you'll find us. It's all the same logos. It's the same logos you'll find in your podcast feed. And while we're talking about podcast feeds, the one thing that is I'm always happy to see, and would always encourage people, is if you could rate and review Twisted Britain. It lets other people find them, and it just puts a smile on my face. If there's somebody out there that you think is sitting about and needs a bit more nonsense to listen to, please do point them at Twisted Britain, and I thank you for every listen that we get. I still really enjoy doing this, and I hope you enjoy listening. I'll leave you with the same as I leave you with every week. In fact, I won't. I will leave you with, please wash your hands, and thank you, love you, bye.